Well, you know, maybe reckless, selfish, thoughtless of the worry that they'll have caused, but it's not a crime. Tonight, though, I'm asking one person, please call home. Dinah McNicol, if you're watching, will you call your father, your grandma, or Sarah? All of them are waiting by the phone right now. All they want to hear is that you're alive and well. The fact is that Sergeant Derek Nichol here fears that Dinah has been abducted and may be dead. Dinah's family and friends and one of her teachers have taken part in our reconstruction of the days that led up to her disappearance. None of them has seen her since she went to a rock festival last August. And with the festival season due to start again soon, this appeal is aimed especially at anyone who saw Dinah last year.
So how's everything going then? It's going really great, actually. I'm getting on really well with Dad, which is great.
Before she vanished, Dinah was in good spirits. She'd finished her A-levels and had told her father she'd spend the summer unwinding, maybe travelling.
In 1980, her mother was killed in a traffic accident. She was forced to grow up rather quickly.
Maybe go to India or somewhere.
She did admire what her sister had done, and her elder sister, and she wanted to do similar sort of thing, like do all her studies, get her A-levels, and go to college or university.
Dinah had been quiet but self-composed at school and was expected to do well, especially by her history teacher, Paul Luxmore.
So Henry VII, therefore, her background and difficulties in childhood, I think, gave her a greater experience than other pupils had, and she was therefore often the person who other pupils turned to for help.
This is a rock festival at Deptford in southeast London. On the 27th of July, this film was taken by one of Dinah's friends. Next day, Dinah hitched home, and not far from her old school, was spotted by her former teacher.
I was driving through East Essex on a Sunday afternoon and saw Dinah walking on the side of the road. She was instantly recognisable as Dinah because of her hair and the clothes that she was wearing, so I pulled in and offered her a lift. I knew that she often hitchhiked and she was quite a long way from home, so it seemed to make sense to offer her a lift back. During the course of the conversation, I told Dinah that the following weekend I'd be going down to Chichester. She asked me if she could have a lift down. She was going to a festival in Liphook in Hampshire, which was nearby. I agreed to do that because otherwise I knew that she'd be hitchhiking down.
I don't know whether you're like it.
On her 18th birthday, Dinah became entitled to £2,000. It was compensation for her mother's death. Dinah put it in a building society and then resisted all temptation to draw on it.
Why don't you take some money out of your account? No, I don't want to touch that money. I want to save that for university because I'm going to need that. Yeah. We'd spent a week at my nan's, Shona, Dinah and myself. And we'd had a good week doing things like playing crazy golf and going swimming and shopping. I dropped her off at High Barnet Tube Station after lunch on Friday. Oh, thanks for the lift. It's okay. And take care, all right? Yeah, yeah. Oh. I'll see you soon. Yeah, see you, dude. And as I watched her go, I felt very protective and a strong feeling of love for her. And I thought about getting out the car to give her a hug goodbye, but I didn't. And that was the last time that I saw her.
Next day, as arranged, Paul Luxmore dropped Dinah off near the festival at Liphook in Hampshire, where she'd planned to meet with friends.
Oh, thanks for the lift.
You're welcome. See ya.
Cheers.
Take care.
I will.
Dinah seemed to be perfectly happy and relaxed that day. There's nothing unusual about her. She seemed to be pleased to have been over with her exams and with her life ahead of her. She certainly wasn't the sort of person who'd be taken in by anybody. She wasn't gullible at all, and seemed to give me the impression that after going to the festival she'd be going straight home afterwards.
Dinah spent that evening chatting and listening to the music. Next day, Sunday the 4th of August, the Torpedo Festival, as it was called, wound down.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't think I want to come back with you. I might hitch down to Portsmouth.
Why Portsmouth?
Well, why not really? It's not that far away and I've never been. I'm going to leave my stuff here and I'm going to go off for a while. I'll see you back a bit later.
Alright, see you later. It was about 2.5 hours later when Dinah returned from her walk.
Look, I'm sorry I've been so long, but as I said before, I'm going to hang around here as long as possible and then I'm going to hitch down to Portsmouth. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks or so.
Dinah did introduce us to the man that she was with, but I can't remember his name. She did say that she just met him. He was in his mid-20s, about 5'9" tall, of medium build, casually dressed with wavy dark hair.
Next morning, in nearby Greyshot, a villager remembers a couple who were walking down the high street. The woman seemed quite young and short. In fact, Dinah's only 4'10". The man was maybe 10 years older. Dinah's exam results arrived soon after she disappeared. She passed them all. She'd almost certainly get into university.
There's no way she would not let us know that she was okay. And we really fear the worst.
Stuart McNicol, so do you, don't you?
Yes, we do. We are treating this really seriously. The search we done earlier this year at Bramshot Common was undertaken by Hampshire Constabulary with over 100 police officers over a 3-day period.
So as far as you're concerned now, this is effectively a murder hunt?
It is. We can't call it a murder hunt at this stage because obviously we haven't found a body, but we are desperately concerned and we do feel that there is a strong possibility that something has happened to her.
Now, one of the clues is that £2,000 that she got as compensation for her mother's death, that she guarded so carefully, all of that has been withdrawn.
With the exception of about £100 odd, yes, it was withdrawn at 13 locations around the south coast between the 8th and the 25th of August of last year, as wide apart as Ramsgate, Margate, Havant, Brighton.
That's all pretty ominous.
Yes.
The chap she was seen with as she left Bramshot Common on the Sunday, the 4th of August, now, I mean, he's by no means likely to be the murderer. I mean, you just need to get hold of him just to find out where she went next.
Indeed, we would desperately like to talk to that young man. As you say, he may not be involved at all, but he would be the person that can give us a clue as to where she went if she left that festival site.
He's 25 upwards, we think, 5'9", we think. We honestly don't know a great deal more about him.
The only thing that is distinctive about him is that he was casually dressed at what was extensively a hippie festival, and that is the only thing the young girls that was with her can remember particularly.
Just clutching at straws, just assuming that Dinah is still alive and just gone off somewhere. Maybe she's joined some sort of sect or something like that.
We have looked into that. It is a very difficult area to look at, but from the character and everything I know about her and discovered from her friends, she is not the sort of person, they believe anyway, to be taken in by one of these sort of sects.
She wore contact lenses, and actually she was very, very short-sighted, wasn't she?
She was indeed. In fact, to coin a phrase, she needed glasses to find her glasses.
So if any optician has seen her, again, it's a heck of a long shot, but I mean, there were -10 or -11.5.
One was -10 and one was -11.5.
Any other help that anybody can give?
At the moment, we have no idea where she went or what happened to her after her friends left her at Bramshot Common.
Okay, well, it was Sunday the 4th of August. Very, very hot time last year. If you saw her, please call us. Incidentally, if someone close to you is missing, don't call us. You might like to call the Missing Persons Helpline, though, set up by the Susie Lamplugh Trust. There's the number, 081 392 2000, 081 392 2000. Coming back to the Dinah McNicol inquiry, the number here in the studio is 081 811 8181. Or if you think you know anything at all, you can try the Instant Room in Chelmsford. That's on 0245 542 120.
Case of the missing 18-year-old Dinah McNicol. You may remember some friends last saw Dinah with a man that she'd met at a rock festival in Hampshire last August. The only hope police had of discovering what had happened to Dinah was for that man to come forward. And 4 days after our programme, he did get in touch. Detectives are in no doubt that this man has had nothing to do with Dinah's disappearance, and he has been able to take their inquiries several stages further. The man remembers that on the Monday after the festival, he and Dinah decided to hitchhike home. It was early in the afternoon when a motorist offered them a lift.
He picked us up from a petrol station on the A3. I thought that it could have been a Vauxhall Lever at one point. Possibly olive green or some similar shade of light green. I thought it was probably between 8 and 9 years old.
Oh, that concert was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, I've never been.
As far as I can remember, the driver had sort of straw-coloured, wavy hair, between 35 and 45.
He asked the driver to drop him at junction 8 on the M25, the Reigate turn-off, leaving Dinah in the car.
I was definitely under the impression that she was going home. Dinah gave me a telephone number when I was getting out the car, and I found out that there was never anybody in.
Well, Dinah's home was in Tillingham in Essex, which is a good 80 miles away from Reigate. So the crucial question now is what happened to Dinah after that? If that motorist was you, or you know who he is, or if you know anything about where Dinah may have gone next, remember we're talking about August last year, please do call us. More detectives have been drafted into the incident room, and it is now being treated as a full-scale murder investigation.
Available on the case that's been uppermost in all our minds this week, the murder of 2-year-old James Bulger on Merseyside. The crime is so shocking not only because James was so young, but because every parent can identify with his mother, who lost sight of him for just a few moments.
In the past few hours, there have been several advances in the investigation. A psychologist has helped draw up a profile of whoever did it, and we've new pictures of the two boys seen walking off with James from the Strand shopping centre. Other clues are becoming clear tonight as well.
We'll start with that security video picture. The Ministry of Defence has employed the same enhancement techniques that were used during the Gulf War to identify targets. Now, these stills may look a little bit fuzzy still, but they're a huge improvement on the originals. This boy is now fairly recognisable. And just this afternoon, the woman whose child was approached by two boys in that same shopping centre that Friday has picked out these boys from the security videos. Police now firmly believe these are the same two boys who abducted James. It's been widely assumed these two are responsible for the little boy's death, but of course we must keep in mind the possibility that they were trying to help him. In fact, a witness has said that two boys with a toddler asked for directions to a police station. If one of those was you, you don't need me to tell you how important it is that you make contact with the police. You can call us now on 081 811 8181. This lad is between 11 and 12 years old. He's 4 foot 9 inches, slightly chubby, although not overweight. He has a roundish face with a small nose and short hair. Note he has a high hairline. He's wearing a black shiny blouse-on style jacket, which probably has a satin finish. It has elasticated cuffs, possibly with a motif on the left side. The other boy is slightly older, taller and slimmer. He's about 13, with a longer face and pale complexion. He has short, straight black hair. Witnesses remember his noticeable brown eyes and dark eyebrows. Both boys had Liverpool accents. If you recognise them, please call us. We can now trace with greater certainty the route along which James was taken after leaving the New Strand shopping centre. That was just after 20 to 4 last Friday afternoon. He probably went down Park Street, just opposite the centre. Just after 4 o'clock, we cross Hawthorne Road into Oxford Road. These pictures from the security camera at Amec Builders Merchants show 3 girls a short distance behind the boys. Those girls have now been identified. They lost sight of the boys at the top of Oxford Avenue. Then the sightings at the reservoir on Breeze Hill. At about 20 past 4, 3 witnesses saw a toddler. Police are now almost certain it was James, in the company of 2 boys aged between 12 and 14. James was distressed, and there seemed to be a slight injury to his forehead. One of the witnesses demanded to know what was going on, and one of the 2 boys said they'd found the child on the embankment. Did you see the 2 boys and the toddler here on Breeze Hill?
To help you, we can now show you exactly what James was wearing when he disappeared. His outfit was damaged, part of it was missing, and his mother, understandably, was too distressed at first to give much detail. But we know that his anorak is multicoloured, in fact, identical to this. It had a fairly distinctive lining, and there's a motif here on the front which says "Don't cross my way." His tracksuit was silvery blue with, as you can see, white stripes down the side, and he was wearing trainers, white trainers with this black inlay here. And here's a picture of a toddler who was dressed as James was when he disappeared.
The next sighting of James is about 3 miles away on Walton Village Road, near St Mary's Church. This is where two lads asked a passer-by for directions to the police station. That was about 10 to 5, just over an hour after James went missing. James's body was found on the railway track, which is just a little further along Cherry Lane.
A forensic psychologist tonight helps complete the pattern. He's been through the evidence so far and still has work to do to firm things up, but he's convinced that by the time we finish this appeal, somebody watching Crimewatch will have a pretty good idea of who did this to James. As when children occasionally torture animals, this could, he thinks, have been a prank, a ghastly prank that went disastrously too far. Now, if you know a boy who fits the descriptions we've given so far, see if anything that follows also fits. Since Friday afternoon, his behaviour will have changed. He might be agitated or unusually quiet. He may have wanted to stay at home for much of Saturday, which won't be his normal behaviour. He won't appear to be ill or show that he's unhappy. If anything, he'll try to show no emotions at all. He's likely to be withdrawn. But the changes will be marked enough to be noticeable, and not just to his family, but also, if they think about it, to his friends as well. He may be regularly involved in petty crime like shoplifting. He may bunk off school quite a bit and pass away some of his time in amusement arcades, certainly in the shopping centre. Most importantly, despite some reports to the contrary, the psychologist is almost certain that he lives within walking distance of where James was found.
Well, Superintendent Kirby, the boys we've been appealing to, any boys who know something, may be deterred from ringing, especially after seeing the scenes of public anger after Tuesday night's arrests. They might be very frightened. What can you do to persuade them to ring?
All I can do is to assure them that if they ring us directly at the incident room, or if they contact through a friend or even a solicitor, a member of their family, I can give them every assurance that we will do everything in our capabilities to ensure there's no repetitions of what took place earlier in the week, and we will look after their identity and make sure nobody's aware of it.
And you also need the public's cooperation in that regard too from now on.
We do, and certainly that's not been lacking right throughout the inquiry.
We've heard what the psychologist had to say. What sort of boys do you think you're looking for?
I think what Nick has said covers everything very well. The only thing I would reiterate there is the fact that perhaps their parents are not aware of some of those features, i.e. missing school, stealing, and then going into amusement arcades. But if parents do now identify these features, as distressing as it may be, I would appeal to them to come to us, because there's no doubt that that child needs a lot of care and attention.
With the willingness of the public to help, and now with these new pictures, it's hard to believe that you won't find them. Do you think it is only a matter of time now?
I've got every confidence with the way that the whole inquiry has been going, and the massive amount of help and assistance that we've had from all sectors of the public within Merseyside, that will achieve that in the end.
And obviously it's better for them to come to you rather than the other way round.
It is, as we've said right throughout the inquiry. There is every possibility that the boys who abducted the baby from the shopping precinct may not be those at the end who've actually committed the murder. And in fairness to them, we must keep a very open mind on it.
It's been reported that you're widening out the inquiry now, although the psychologist believes they are local lads.
Yes, we are widening it out in so much as we're taking it into an area about 3 miles away. But we believe that the identity of the offender will be within that fairly close area. If it's not where they live, it will be friends or relatives.
Now, with so much public concern, the danger is here that you're going to get more calls than you can handle. So who exactly do you want to hear from? What are your priorities?
It is a problem. We are getting so many calls. All I would appeal, and I repeat what I've already put out before, is if anyone's seen baby James anywhere with these two boys, please come forward. If anyone's got any other information whatsoever that they may think could be of assistance, not is, but may be of assistance, again, please come to us. But I think even more important, I repeat what I've said before, if there's any parents at all who've got any alarm and concern, they must, and I stress that, must make some effort to contact us.
Mr. Kirby, thank you. This is the number, 081 811 8181 here, or you can call Merseyside Police direct on 2 special lines, and that's 051 777 6488, 051 777 6488, or 051 777 2655.
but have you ever been interviewed about a murder? More specifically, one that happened back in 1982. On a summer's day, just off the Finchley Road in Swiss Cottage in London, a 17-year-old was murdered, killed in her own home. It caused a sensation at the time, and many people locally will still remember the victim's name, Yiannaoulla Yianni. The murder was never solved, but now, with new forensic evidence, tonight, it just might be. Yiannaoulla had just left school and was waiting for her exam results. She and her mother used to take lunch to her father, who ran the local cobbler's shop. They were Greek Cypriots, a close family, but fairly strict, and Yiannaoulla rarely went out on her own. Instead, life revolved around the family home in Belsize Road, and this is Yiannaoulla dancing with the family 18 years ago. Only once was there any hint of trouble, one evening when they'd gone out for a walk.
We were followed once by this, from what I remember, a Mediterranean-looking fellow. We were out for a walk with my mum, and we noticed him following us from Finchley Road.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, that's really
good. Ella.
Maria, I think he fancies you.
How do you know? Well, maybe he'll like Yiannaoulla.
Oh, I think he's very
Do you think
good.
he'll come back next week? Oh, darling, I think it's too expensive.
Oh, but it really is.
Oh, here he is again.
He just waved. What a weirdo.
Oh, no. Look, he's here again. No, come on, girls. We go home.
Mum, what are you scared of? There's three of us.
No, I don't like it. No, come on, we go home now.
What's going on?
August 18 years ago, and this is how he may have aged. Maybe there was an innocent reason for his interest in the family, or maybe not. Who is he?
The day Yiannaoulla died was actually Friday the 13th. She'd just gone to my dad's shop to take him some lunch.
Meals on Wheels for Mr. Yianni.
Oh, so much work.
Okay.
Why you don't close the shop and finish what you're doing? Yiannaoulla, you go and put the dinner on in the oven, okay, darling? I stay here and help your daddy. He needs me.
Okay. See you later, Dad.
And that's the last they saw of her, because then she just literally walked out the shop, ran the corner back to our house, which was probably not more than 4 or 5 minute walk.
Later that Friday lunchtime, a neighbour saw a man turn into her own front path. Then, as he realised his mistake, he went next door to the Yiannis. The family always answered the bell by looking to see who was there. So if Yiannaoulla let the visitor in, there's a big chance she knew him. She certainly seemed to like him. A local man who'd always rather fancied Yiannaoulla from afar saw Yiannaoulla smiling at the visitor. He remembers it clearly because he wished she'd been smiling at him. It wasn't more than 20 minutes later when the parents came back to the house.
They called her, they said we're home, and there was no answer. Mum went upstairs into the bedroom. That's where she found her on the bed. I remember her saying that she'd picked her up and she was crying and her head just dropped. I don't think it's true what they say, that time is a great healer, because for me, it's literally like we're way back there 18 years ago, day one.
Hello? I'd never seen my parents like that. I mean, my father, who was very strong. It killed him off. It finished him.
As a parent myself of 2 girls, I sometimes wonder how on earth I would be able to deal with something like that, and for a child of mine to die in such a way. I mean, she did die a horrific death.
Yiannaoulla had struggled with her attacker, had tried to run upstairs, but had been caught and raped and strangled.
To catch him, though, would I think, bring a peace, because it's finished. There's something there that hasn't finished, and hopefully we'll get him this time, and then we can close the chapter.
So, David, your appeal is very simple. Anyone who was interviewed by police 18 years ago on
Yes,
this?
any person who either spoke to police or gave fingerprints for elimination purposes. And that would include people from Kinston School, the local Greek dance class in Camden Road, and Woolworths, Finchley Road, where she worked part-time.
Or perhaps anybody who's heard anything since?
Yes, any information. It's 18 years since this crime. It's quite possible the killer has confided in somebody else. I would appeal for that person to come forward.
And what about anybody who knew Yiannaoulla but hasn't been interviewed by the police?
Anybody who's got information.
Anyone at all who's got any information at all and who knew her?
Yes, that's quite correct, yes.
Now, the guy who was following them, I know it's a very long shot, because actually that was several weeks, if not months, before the attack, but he was rather similar to the guy who was seen at the front door. Very short. 5'4", 5'6", 5'4", yeah, 5'6".
That's right, yeah. 20 to 24, Mediterranean appearance.
So he'd now be 38 to 42. Yeah. I should say that aging we showed was done with the National Missing Persons Helpline, who've got tremendous expertise in that. If you think you know who that is, we can help in any other way, or were interviewed at the time, call us now. It's a free call number, 0500 600 600, or the instant room 020 8358 1777. That's made national headlines. Another case, I'm afraid, that seems to be a killing for the sake of it. The victim was 16-year-old Claire Tiltman, and she was picked apparently at random. Almost everyone you see in what follows, fire and ambulance crews, witnesses and friends, are the real people involved who've helped us to reenact events.
Good one! In the second floor! Alphabet!
She was in the fire brigade, the Duke of Edinburgh scheme, and...
She made it quite clear she didn't want a 9-to-5 job. She wanted to go in the fire brigade.
Yeah. That was her intention, to go in the fire brigade. No one would change it, you know. She was a lovely kid, you know. It's just such a shame.
Claire, she was a good student. She always used to come to the sessions. She was always first here. She had an idea that firefighting was probably going to be what she wanted to do. There are other things within the fire brigade, but she really wanted to be out there fighting fires, possibly driving or even take promotion exams. She was very bright and very intelligent, so I would understand that she could very easily take her leading firefighters exam and pass, and possibly be in charge of a fire appliance.
Claire! You're gonna miss that bus! Okay, I'll be down in a minute.
It was the final day of Claire's mock GCSE exams. She'd been sitting school tests for a fortnight and was looking forward to an evening without pressure.
Here, drink this. Good luck with that exam. Huh?
Alright, Claire, how are you doing? Alright, have I told you? I've got a job down Peter Hut. Oh, great. I was going to pop round later and talk about college and that. Oh, brilliant. Oh, I'm at typing. Oh, maybe I won't bother then. It's only for an hour. Yeah, alright, I'll come round tonight.
The exams was the last day. She'd done quite well in them, actually. She wasn't particularly a scholar, but she did work hard and she'd done very well.
Alright, how did it go?
Okay, yeah, I did quite well, I think.
I told you, didn't I?
Yeah, good. Oh, yeah, can I pop down and see Vicky later? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, I want to talk to her about college and all that.
Yeah, she's got in.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's really thrilled.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Claire, are you sure you don't want to lift down?
No, it's all right. I wanted to do my hair first anyway.
Bye then.
All right, bye. See ya.
Normally, I would have run her up there and possibly even Heather bring her back because his car had been stolen, so he had my car, like, for work.
Claire had a mile to walk to Vicky's home. Were you driving down the A226, here called the London Road, through Greenhithe, Kent, between Dartford and Gravesend? It's 6 o'clock on Monday a month ago, Monday the 18th of January.
I often go jogging along the London Road towards Holmes Cross when I first noticed Claire walking towards me.
On my way home along the same London road, I again noticed Claire in the distance, just walking towards the traffic lights at the Railway Hotel. Just before the traffic lights, she walked out towards the main road as if she was going to cross, thus causing me to run in the road. The thing that struck me afterwards, that I thought to myself, oh, thank you for letting me run in the road.
It's not clear why Claire went into this alley. Maybe she was forced here. Did you see anyone nearby?
Come down Providence Street into Station Road up towards the traffic lights. I see this car was parked in a very stupid place, half on, half off the curb, right on the traffic lights. And then this young girl come charging out this alley. I remember thinking, bloody kids. After hearing on the news about a young girl being killed and everything, I suddenly realised, suddenly dawned on me that that stupid girl who nearly ran on the road last night was Claire Tiltman.
About 30 seconds later, Michael Godfrey was turning onto the London Road.
What's that, Ron? Looks like a person.
Nah, it's probably a pile of rubbish.
No, it's a person. I'm going to stop. Because she was against a wall, it looked as though it was a hit-and-run car accident. The obvious thing, it's right by a road. Ron, my passenger, went off and got an ambulance. I've used first aid before, but never to that extent. She just didn't respond. And I continued that until the ambulance arrived, and they then took over.
I don't know, I think it's a road accident.
Has she got a pulse or
No.
breathing?
No pulse. I've been giving her CPR. She's not responded, and there's no pulse.
Vicky? Oh, hello. It's Linda here. Can you send Claire home? She's not there. Right. OK, I'll try Lisa. Thanks.
I'm sure that Claire would have sensed that somebody was with her in that last moment. And I think that's quite important for her family to know that she wasn't on her own, and that she was with somebody and that they were caring for her.
I used to play pool, and she took an interest in it. All of a sudden, it seemed overnight, she just clicked.
They wanted her to go in the competition on holiday, didn't they?
But she wasn't old enough. Playing pool, she was brilliant. Regularly beat me.
No one likes to think their husband, boyfriend, son, any relative is capable of doing this, but to come forward, because I know that I would have to, because I don't think I could live with myself knowing what that person's done. And maybe he was capable of doing it again.
Owen Taylor, that must be your fear. This guy's going to do it again.
Yes, it is. This was a particularly savage attack. Claire was stabbed several times with a large knife, and I think there's every likelihood that this person could strike again.
It's going to be terribly difficult for anybody who knows the offender, particularly if it's his mum or a girlfriend or somebody, to think it really could be him. I mean, what do you think they should look for? Firstly, does he live in the area, do you think?
I think there's, in fact, I'm convinced that the person either lives in the area, has got connections in the area, or has lived in the area in the past. And I'm equally convinced that somebody in that local community knows who this person is or suspects who they are, and I would simply say to that person, can you honestly live with Claire Tiltman's murder on your conscience? And can you live with the thought that this person may well strike again?
Now, you mentioned she'd been stabbed with a very unusually large knife. It's not the sort of knife someone would sort of carry, like a little penknife or anything. Is there a possibility this guy's got an obsession with knives, a fascination with them?
Certainly couldn't rule that out. I mean, it was a large knife, and it's not the sort of thing you would normally carry around, say, for instance, to do like your normal day's work.
And
So it's an unusual weapon.
Given perhaps to unpredictable violence, outbursts of aggression, which perhaps a girlfriend would have noticed.
I think certainly after committing an offence as ferocious as this, his behaviour would have been abnormal, and someone close to him, a girlfriend, wife, mother, would actually notice a difference in the behaviour.
Finally, just very quickly, that car parks so awkwardly at the traffic lights. You've got to find the driver of that, presumably.
Very, very important to the inquiry, a very important witness, and we would like that person to come forward.
OK, well, if that driver was you, or there's any way that you can help, particularly if you just think there is something there that clicked with someone you know, the number here, 081 811 8181. Alternatively, there's a special incident room which has been set up tonight in Maidstone for Crimewatch calls. Take a special note of the number, please, because the line's already busy here, and it may be difficult to get through. The number there is 0622 654 321.
With your help, we hope some criminals are about to be caught, like the killer of Sarah Payne.
Here's the man who is running perhaps the highest profile investigation in the country, Peter Kennett. Little Sarah Payne disappeared near her grandparents' home in Sussex in early July and was found dead just over 2 weeks later. There are now strong leads, and Sarah's grandfather explains for the first time what happened on the day she vanished.
We had dinner, and it was such a lovely evening that we decided to go for a walk on the beach, and which, you know, the children were very excited about because they love going on the beach. We were walking along, as you do, throw stones in, laughing, joking, and the children got a little bit fed up, and they said to Sarah, "Mummy, can we go and play on the swing?" Which is a field just at the back of my house. And they all run off as children do, laughing and jumping and skipping. The little ones were playing dinosaurs. And Sarah said that she was going home. She didn't want to play anymore. Well, she went across the field out into the road. Lee went diagonally opposite to cut through the edge to jump out on her. She wasn't there. It was that quick.
It's impossible to say exactly what happened to Sarah. It's most likely that she was assaulted and murdered very soon after the abduction, and it's likely that it was carried out in a vehicle which would have been parked in a lay-by or just off the road in an isolated spot, but somewhere probably not too far from where Sarah was abducted.
I can virtually remember every day what things that happened. Every day the press was turning up. I mean, I've never been in front of a television camera before in my life. We had to do it for Sarah's sake. I suppose it was probably a week had gone by, 10 days had gone by. And we started talking, and I said, I think we better prepare ourselves for the worst.
Police searching for the missing 8-year-old Sarah Payne have found the body of a little girl in West Sussex.
My mobile went, and the wife said, I think you better come home. I said to Mike, you've got to get home, mate. He looked at me and I looked at him. He said, oh God. And we drove home and we went into the driveway, and there was 2 police cars there. I was in the garden. We walked into the garden, and the look, you just knew. You know. I found her.
The stretch of the A29 where Sarah was buried is a very nondescript piece of road. It's that part that is between the Brinsbury Agricultural College and the Tote Cafe. On that Saturday evening at about 11 o'clock, a lorry driver who was driving a 7.5-ton curtain-sided truck could well have seen the murderer of Sarah Payne. A vehicle pulled out from the exact spot where Sarah had been buried, and it caused this lorry driver to brake sharply to avoid it. There's little doubt in my mind that the murderer had just buried Sarah. That driver could have also taken the registration number of the car down. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful? It's possible that the killer of Sarah may well have been driving in the area. One particular location that is of interest is the Texaco garage at Buck Barn, which is at the junction of the A24 and the A272. I appeal to any witnesses that were in the area at that time. Did you see a man that was nervous, agitated, sweating, perhaps dirty from having dug a grave? Did you see him in a vehicle? If you did, please contact the programme. It's vital that we speak to you. It's likely that the killer returned to where he buried Sarah on that Sunday morning after Sarah was murdered. At the Tote Cafe, there was a car boot sale. Lots of people attended. Now, at that stage, of course, we hadn't found Sarah, so you may have seen something suspicious and not even connected it with Sarah Payne missing person inquiry. So please rack your brains, think, were you there? Did you see anything suspicious? That stretch of road is used a lot by bikers. Were you on that run on the 2nd of July? These witnesses, who we have yet to trace, could well hold the key to this inquiry, to finding the murderer of Sarah Payne.
I've got photographs of them from birth right up to just before she went missing, I think. So, I mean, she loved dressing up. She loved writing little notes to everybody. The last note she wrote to us before she went out that door was, Mrs. L. Payne, which is the wife, I love you so, so, so much. It was weird. Just a few weeks ago, they come down and laid 4 breakfast plates out. And the wife said to me, there's only 3. There is somebody out there who knows what happened to Sarah. They know. And I plead with all my heart for them to get in contact. Because please don't let that happen to another little girl.
Peter, it must be a hugely emotional inquiry for you and the team.
As was the reconstruction. The first time I saw that was yesterday at a briefing down in Littlehampton Police Station. The entire team were there, 40 detectives. As soon as that started, you could have heard a pin drop. I was not the only person to have tears in my eyes and dabbing them with a handkerchief. It does highlight the bravery of Terry Payne, and particularly the Payne family, who have been absolutely marvellous throughout this entire inquiry.
So many people around the country, you know, dabbed their eyes with a handkerchief when they heard about what happened, and so many people have tried to help. Now, surely everybody who could help has already tried to.
We are still missing witnesses. We are, for example, there were 2 horse riders on the beach on that Saturday, the 1st of July. There are also children by the swings that we need to see. A number of witnesses there.
Tell us what that beach is called, Marky. Most people don't know the name of the beach that you go and visit, I suppose.
It's Kingston Gorse Beach, which is a beach between Littlehampton and Worthing.
So children as well, who may not be watching this programme because they're in bed, but you want parents to look back in their diaries, 1st of July.
So look in your diaries, in your calendars for the 1st of July and ask the children, were you there? Were you on that beach?
Now, there have been all sorts of strange sightings as well. I know that there's one bonfire in particular that you're trying to find out more about.
Yes, there was some hardboard and MDF wood that was on a bonfire which had been taken from a van. It was there for 3 days. The bonfire wasn't lit, and the wood was was taken.
Salvaged. I mean, probably
salvaged.
It's entirely innocent.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want whoever salvaged that plywood or whatever it was to let you know.
Yes,
where is that wood now?
Absolutely.
And it might be connected. Might have forensic clues on it, of course. And if it did come from a van, somebody would have refitted the interior of a van or a vehicle like a van on the 1st or 2nd of July.
Yes, in that Littlehampton, Angmering, Rustington area.
So anybody was asked to do that, please call.
Absolutely, yes.
A shoe, one of Sarah's shoes, a little ladybird shoe, size 234 or 34, was found in Coolham near the Celsians. You've never found the rest of her clothing?
We haven't, no, and we're still searching for it now, and we're desperate to find it.
This is an identical dress to the one that she was wearing. So if you found that or anything like that, let us know, please. Or a spade like this that was used to dig the little grave. This might have all been burned off by now. This is plastic, but of course that part, the blade, would still be there. And it had some damage to the right-hand corner?
It did. It's a lady's border spade, 14 centimetres wide.
OK, there's a substantial reward as well.
£150,000.
So, please, any way that you can help this, but leave this to the Sussex area, please, and try and be specific about calls. Please ring us in the studio on our free phone number, 0500 600 600. It's on the screen for most of the show. You can call the Instant Room direct, that's a local rate call, 0845 60 70 999. And for me, the real Crimewatch UK. For all of us here, it can be grueling coping with crimes against victims who are strangers. It's been almost unbearable dealing with Jill's death. Jill Dando was much more than a colleague. She was everyone's friend. Crimewatch is poorer without her. But this programme was her passion. And now, as Jill helped others, we hope we can do the same for her family, and for her fiancé, Alan.
A senior police officer arrived at my work to tell me that a lady of Jill's description had been attacked on Jill's doorstep and had been rushed to Charing Cross Hospital and had subsequently died from her injuries.
We've had to look at everything. We've had to look at it in the complete 360 degrees at all sorts of things that were happening. But we've been looking at facts and we've been looking at evidence. And one of the first pieces of information and real facts are when the postman was delivering mail to Jill Dando's house, number 29 Gowan Avenue.
I was delivering mail along the odd numbers till I reached 29, which I know is Jill Dando's house. I've met Jill a few times, either delivering her mail or passing her in the street. I took a couple of paces down the front garden path, and just before I reached the front garden gate, I saw a man standing in the road looking directly at number 29. It was like he thought someone was going to receive the mail.
I was looking for illegally parked cars on both sides of the road, and I noticed a Range Rover facing the Fulham Palace Road. I started to type the registration number in, and suddenly I noticed this man that was sitting in the driver's seat. And I was quite sort of startled and a bit embarrassed, so I just walked off towards Munster Road.
And at the same time, a driver saw another man, and he was near the other end of Gowan Avenue.
I was coming out of Bishop's Road and wanted to turn right and immediate left to cross Munster Road into Gowan Avenue, and he was outside the glazier's shop, and as I went, he crossed. He kept looking up and down the road. I thought maybe he was looking for the road name. He was looking up.
If you were in Gowan Avenue on that day, now is the time to come forward and tell us.
Getting towards the end of Gowan Avenue on the Fulham Palace Road end, I was conscious that somebody was sitting on my tail, as it were, you know, was hurrying me. I had got the impression there was more than one person. There was a couple of people in the car. I was feeling very pressured by the car behind. I could hear it revving.
And if that was you, and you were in a hurry in your Range Rover, we do want to hear from you to eliminate you from the inquiry.
I went straight up Dunrayleigh Road, dead opposite Gowan, and turned right at the end to come out by Fulham Football Club, and I felt sort of pressured into going faster than I wanted to. I sort of looked over my shoulder and saw the Range Rover parking sort of opposite Fulham Football Club.
It is important to eliminate this vehicle. There were several sightings of a blue Range Rover, dark blue Range Rover. Were you parked up in the Fulham Football Club or driving around that area on the 26th of April? We would like to know, we need to know if you were there. Next is a window cleaner, and he was opposite Jill's house. And he saw a man, again, wandering around outside number 29. The window cleaner thought he was an estate agent. He was carrying a mobile phone and was talking into the mobile phone. He described him as having blonde hair, but smart in appearance, wearing a suit. almost all the witnesses talk of a man in a suit with dark hair or black hair. So this man, the window cleaner, sees someone with blonde hair. Now, he may be someone completely innocent, or is he the person that we're looking for? Another sighting of yet another dark blue Range Rover is around about 11 o'clock. A man is driving again in Gowan Avenue, but going the other way. He had noticed a man in Gowan Avenue standing between two parked cars, just standing there. As he approaches Gowan Avenue, Munster Road, and he turns left, parked right on the corner there, but also on the curb, is a dark blue Range Rover. There's nobody in it.
I'd better go. I don't want to get a ticket. Love to Glyn. Bye.
I was weighing up whether to go home or to Sally Parsons' a shop on Fulham Road. I was thinking quite hard about it, and as I sat there was a man about one car length away. He had noticeable dark hair and a blue suit, and he didn't seem uncomfortable or uneasy. I was thinking of my dilemma at the time, but I was somehow dimly aware that he might have been an estate agent.
I saw a man standing on the corner of Gowan Avenue, just very, very agitated. And the one thing that I couldn't help but keep looking at was like the glasses he had on his face. They didn't seem to fit.
I think it is always difficult for anybody to cope if they don't know why something has happened. This is a situation which defies all logic, is totally impossible to explain, and therefore totally impossible to understand at this moment in time. Even an explanation will not change the situation and will probably not change the fact that I don't understand what has happened or why it has happened.
I heard a scream. I looked out the window and saw a character walk away, and also saw a chap coming out of number 30.
I came out of the front door and I saw this man running down the street, and he immediately alerted my attention because he was furtive. He was up to no good. I could tell it at once.
What we found is 4 witnesses who see a man or different men running down the Fulham Palace Road towards Putney. And the first witness is somebody who had been to the betting shop. About 11:37, 11:38, he saw a man running across the Fulham Palace Road from the Gowan Avenue side, and a car nearly knocked him down. And the man saw him run to the west side of Fulham Palace Road and start to run down Fulham Palace Road. Another lady saw a man running down the Bishop's Park side of Fulham Palace Road, carrying a mobile phone and talking into the mobile phone, and she found that very odd. Is that the same man who had just run over the pedestrian crossing? Further down the Fulham Palace Road, a few minutes later, a lady is driving a truck north and sees a man, she describes, running for all his life, wearing a suit, dark hair, south towards Putney. He was carrying a mobile phone. At roughly the same time, a van driver is going towards Putney in the Fulham Palace Road, and a man ran out in front of him, and the van driver had to brake heavily to avoid hitting him.
Stupid idiot!
That witness saw the man run across the Fulham Palace Road and into Bishop's Park. So there are 4 witnesses seeing a man running almost the full length of Fulham Palace Road, crossing the road and going into the park. What we do know of the man in Gowan Avenue is that he was wearing a dark, waxy, barber-type jacket, thigh length. Certainly the man running in Fulham Palace Road was not wearing a jacket or coat. So we can't be sure that the man in Fulham Palace Road is the one in Gowan Avenue, but perhaps he was a lookout. Perhaps he was a man standing at the end of Gowan Avenue, and then following the shooting, he has run away down the Fulham Palace Road separately. At around the time that he saw him run into Bishop's Park, there are a number of witnesses who saw a man in the park, by the railings by the river, acting suspiciously and oddly. Is he the same man as who ran across the Fulham Palace Road? We're not sure. But certainly there was a woman in the park, and she saw a man leaning over the railings, talking on a mobile phone. And he was talking in a suspicious manner, and when she came by, he quietened his voice and was concerned of her presence. That man in particular had dark hair, but he was described as wearing a grey or dark coat, which was long thigh coat. That could be the same man who was seen running from Gowan Avenue, because the coat in particular is very similar. One of the witnesses saw a man climbing over the railings and onto the steps which lead down to the river. Who is that man? The witness does describe that man as wearing a royal blue wind cheater coat. Now that's certainly not the description of the man who was seen running from Gowan Avenue, which was a dark, waxy, barber type coat. So there is a possibility, strong possibility, that man has nothing to do with this inquiry, and if that is the case, if he came forward, we could eliminate him very quickly. And finally, there is a crucial witness at the bus stop in the Fulham Palace Road, opposite Bishop's Park.
He just caught my attention, I don't know why. And then as he got closer, I could see he was sweating on his face as if he'd been running. You get these impressions, you know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't even throw my orange peel on the floor because he gave me that impression that he was a policeman. And I thought, if I throw it on the floor, he's going to tell me, right, pick that up, you know. All his collar was all wet, like he'd been sweating. He was about 5'9", 5'10". He had a slightly foreign-looking nose. He had a mark on his nose bridge, as if he wore glasses. I was left at the bus stop with this man, the woman with the 2 children, and somebody, I think it was another girl, who was just walking up towards the bus stop when it actually got there, 2:20. And he never got on the 74. 2:20 came. I let the young lady with the 2 children get on there because she was like at the end of her tether because the kids were being really bad. As I let them on, I looked at him. There was no response from him. I got on the bus and we left him at the 2:20 bus stop.
The bus driver's records show that 4 people got onto that bus at the time the man who answers the EFIC was on. One of them was an elderly lady. One of them was a young man, 18, 19 years old. The bus driver can't remember the 3rd person. So there are definitely 3 other people who can come forward with information concerning this man.
Putney Bridge Station.
We'd be interested to know what he was talking about. Did anybody hear part of that conversation? Was anybody annoyed by the phone ringing and someone suddenly start talking on the bus? Were you on that 74 bus? We would like to hear from you. All 4 passengers got off. Where did he go from there? At this stage, we don't know. We've examined CCTV footage from the Putney Bridge railway station. He can't be found on there at this time. Did he go in a taxi? Did he go in a car? Did a car come along and pick him up? Or did he walk away over Putney Bridge or down back into the Fulham Road? Did anybody see him? We would like to know.
Everybody associated with Jill in any way whatsoever finds it totally unbelievable that the tables are turned like this and we are actually in this absurd situation making an appeal on her behalf. The horrifying fact is that somebody has murdered the person that I had planned to spend the rest of my life with. Somebody has murdered a person who was so widely loved and respected by everybody she came across. It's impossible to comprehend that one is the victim of crime. Jill is the victim of crime, and we are all the victims of that crime by virtue of the fact that we are horrendously affected by what has happened.
Hamish Campbell, let's see how viewers can really help. solve this? There are just so many sightings with so many people there. They can't all be involved in Jill's murder. Why haven't they come forward to be eliminated?
I think a lot of them believe that they've got nothing to contribute, that they were there innocently, and therefore why should they come forward? But what I'm saying is it's essential they come forward, because they help us determine the motive. Was there just one person involved in this killing, or more than one? And as soon as everybody who was in that street comes forward, we can eliminate them and move the inquiry on.
Hamish, supposing they have reasons for not wanting to come forward, they're concerned about their anonymity. I'm thinking particularly, for example, of Range Rover drivers. And we know there must have been dozens of Range Rovers in that area at that time.
Yes.
We know the press has pointed out one of them was driving very badly. I mean, if I was that driver, would be reluctant to come forward. I'd fear a prosecution apart from anything else.
I can understand that, but there's no concern in relation to traffic offences or minor matters. The concern here is the murder of Jill Dando, so if they've been involved in minor traffic matters, forget that. Ring us, tell us where you were on that day, which Range Rover you were driving, and where you were.
That's a guarantee of immunity?
Absolutely.
And you want all Range Rovers in Fulham Monday the 26th of April in that morning?
Yes.
Now, it's pretty clear from that reconstruction that the guy walking and running down Fulham Palace Road was one person. I mean, all the witness statements seem to converge on that one description. And yet that description is different from the gunman. So the e-fit that you've issued, the man at the bus stop in Fulham Palace Road, may very well not be the killer.
That is possible. And certainly the man in the Fulham Palace Road was not wearing a coat, whereas the man in Gowan Avenue was. So there's a strong indication that they are two different people. The e-fit is of the man at the bus stop. People need to focus on that for who is that man. Is he the lookout? Was he another party to the killing? But our key concern is the man in Gowan Avenue.
But can we just stay with that man at the bus stop first?
Yes.
It is possible he was running down Fulham. People run down roads every now and then for entirely innocent reasons without having shot someone. It is possible he is watching and recognises himself.
Yes.
If he comes forward, he's going to have a hell of a time, isn't he?
Not at all, but if he comes forward and he has nothing to do with that incident, then we can speak to him and eliminate him. He might have been late for an appointment, late for a bus, or whatever. As long as he comes forward and we can push the inquiry on.
Again, can you guarantee him anonymity?
Yes.
Now, you've always maintained this the most difficult sort of inquiry for detectives, what do you call a 360-degree inquiry.
Yes.
Let's try and focus it so that people can help. On the one hand, there's the possibility it's a conspiracy involving several people.
Yes.
And on the other, there's the prospect that it's just one person. Let's just take the criminal conspiracy idea first. Again, how can people help now, viewers of Crimewatch?
It's important to remember that there's a large and substantial reward in this case. There's £100,000 from the Daily Mail, there's £50,000 from Crime Stoppers, where people can ring up anonymously and give us information. People need to ask themselves, as we have done, who has gained from this murder after 21 days?
What do you mean, who's gained?
Has someone gained financially? Has someone received money recently? Has somebody benefited in some way? Whether it's financial or emotional, there's a reason why Jill Dando was murdered, and people need to look now. Who has gained? What benefit has been achieved by this death? And come forward with any information. The reward money is there, it's substantial, and people need to think very, very hard tonight on what that is.
Of course, one line to that reward and one line the criminal fraternity can help with is to trace the murder weapon.
Yes.
Now, of course, guns can be acquired abroad. We all know that. But assuming, we can't make that assumption, but let's for the moment make it, that this gun was acquired in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
How would whoever mediated that sale recognise the weapon?
Well, there are two guns here this evening. And what we're saying is, this gun here, the 9mm Browning, the larger firearm, is not the weapon that was involved in the killing of Jill Dando.
Right, that's one that lots of newspapers and so forth have been portraying. It's not that.
Yes, it is this type of firearm. This is a 9mm short. Not only is the bullet shorter, but the whole weapon is smaller. It can be held in your palm of your hand, can be concealed in a pocket. People need to look now at this weapon. Have they recently handled this gun? Have they recently passed it on to somebody else? Have they disposed of it for somebody? Did they make arrangements before Monday the 26th of April to give this type of gun to somebody? There is the reward money. People need to look at this firearm and ring us tonight.
Much less common than the bigger weapons.
Considerably less common.
When these weapons are sold illegally, they're usually sold with ammunition. What sort of ammunition was used to shoot?
The ammunition that was used to shoot Jill Dando was 9mm short Remington manufacture. There was no suggestion that it was a dum-dum bullet. There's no suggestion that this firearm was fitted with a silencer.
So if somebody was involved in that sale, you're saying they can ring Crime Stoppers anonymously?
Yes.
Tell us the procedure about that. Supposing someone says, look, I want to get that £150,000 reward. But I'm not prepared to take the risk of prosecution for firearms offences.
If they ring Crime Stoppers and they've got real information to give us concerning this firearm or anything else, they will be given a security number, and it's that security number which will identify them with Crime Stoppers, not the police, and the information can be passed to them, which in turn will be given to us.
Now, we've been looking at the criminal conspiracy. Supposing it is just a loner,
yes.
Then again, how can people watching this programme help identify that now?
If it is a loner, I mean, it could explain the apparent motivelessness of the crime, but maybe this person has a fixation or a strong fascination with Jill Dando. Maybe he's displayed that in some way with collection of photographs, constant talking. I'm not sure, but people need to look again to their partners or others. Was he concerned or fascinated by Jill Dando? What was he doing on Monday the 26th of April? Was he late for work? Did he not turn up for work? Was there some features of his behaviour which was different on that day?
Well, it's a free call number here, 0500 600 600. Please call if you can identify any of those people that have to be eliminated, and please let us know if you've any suspicions about an individual who may have done this. It's had huge publicity, and perhaps the chance of finding new witnesses tonight might be slim.
But even if it's a long shot, someone out there must know something. Danielle vanished on a walk to school 4 weeks ago in the village of East Tilbury.
Okay, morning everybody. Welcome to day 28. Exactly 4 weeks today since Danielle went missing. Tasking today for teams 2 and 3 will be a footpath that runs from Butts Lane to a railway bridge at Linford in Essex. Okay, the divers will be continuing today at the lake nearest to the East Tilbury village. There's tyre tracks footmarks on one area of that lake where they'll be paying particular attention.
Because you're just sitting waiting for news all the time, which is hard. Very hard. But basically at the end of each day there is no news, there is no result, there is nothing to tell us really. The only one thing we want to know is something that we're not hearing, and that's that they found her. She's not a withdrawn child, but she is very shy. She's just a homely girl. She's not one that likes to be wandering about at all. She loves animals. She adores her rabbits. She's got 2 very young rabbits, which she's not had long. She got up her normal rushing around. Her friends knocked as usual and she wasn't ready. She normally has like 2 sandwiches and then just stuffs it all in the school bag, and she went out at about 5 to 8. The normal thing was to say, see you later, Mum, and I'd say, see you later. I wished I'd told her how much I loved her. Just hope I get another chance.
Danielle's brother saw her turn left as usual, but then she turned and walked the other way. Why? 2 schoolboys saw her as well, and assumed she was heading for a nearby shop, though she could have caught the school bus going that way too. She never did. Perhaps quite unconnected, but someone thinks they saw a schoolgirl arguing with a man not far away. Later that day, Danielle's school rang her home to say she hadn't turned up.
So I just thought, she'll come home. Any minute now she'll turn up. And I was sure by dark she would come home because she doesn't like the dark. There is no way she wouldn't make contact with me. I know there isn't. Just from the simple note she leaves me, she's going to her friends. I'll phone you when I get there. I'm next door. A month sounds an awfully long time. Each day makes it a less likely good outcome in my mind. Although I've still got that slight flicker that there'll be a good outcome, but that is getting very hard to believe anymore, really.
Well, Peter, that's Mum's hope. What about you?
Well, I'm convinced that Danielle has been abducted. I know that she was last seen walking towards Coronation Avenue, but after that I don't know where she went to, and we really need to speak to anybody who saw her after she left the road close to where she lives. Anyone who may have been there, they may think that we already have the information and we don't need to speak to them again. We do. Anybody who can tell us anything about Danielle's movements after she left home should contact us urgently.
And what about the possible sighting of Danielle arguing with a man. You know about that, but you want more witnesses on that, if possible.
I want witnesses to anything that happened to Danielle. It's possible that it was her involved in that argument. It may have been somebody else, and if it was, let's speak to them. Let's rule them out so we can be clear what we're now looking for. But if that was Danielle and anybody else saw an argument or a conversation between two people, speak to us. Tell us what you saw. No matter how insignificant it is, it can contribute to our investigation. It may be the absolute key to what we're looking for.
Given that you believe she was abducted, is there anything that may have been going on in her life before this that might shed any light?
I certainly think it's a possibility. There may be friends who have been confided in. There may be somebody who knows something that she's talked about at school or in the village. Contact us and tell us that. There may be good reasons why you haven't spoken to us before. They may be frightened with this length of time having passed that they'll be criticised if they come forward now. We must speak to them. Tell us now whatever you can to help, and let us be the judge of how useful it is.
So anything or anyone possibly that was bothering Danielle?
Indeed, anything or anyone. We would like to speak to them now.
The information you think you'll find that will unlock this for you is going to be in the local area, in East Tilbury. Shall we just remind ourselves, you're looking for items like this, aren't you? This is what, Danielle's school bag?
Yes. When Danielle left home, she left home in a school uniform with her school bag and books inside it. Her lunch was inside the bag. And anybody walking around the Tilbury or the Thurrock area of Essex who should see anything similar to this, a Kukai bag.
Kukai bag. This is her school tie.
That's the school tie. Yeah, that's St Clair's school tie. Now that is the comprehensive school for that area. But we're looking for any indication of where Danielle has been or may be now.
And her school blazer.
Indeed.
Okay. All right. Peter, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, Danielle's parents are here. Tony, do you agree with Linda, your wife, and do you agree with Peter about what's happened?
Yes, I do. I've always got that glimmer of hope that she is still alive, but we just know that she wouldn't have run away. We know that 100%. The type of girl she was, she just wouldn't have run away.
Do you, Linda, believe at this stage there is anybody out there who knows something, who hasn't come forward? In your heart, is that what you suspect is going on?
I hope so, because we've just had nothing positive, so someone surely has got to know something. She hasn't just disappeared off the face of the earth. Someone's got to have seen something.
It could also perhaps be a girlfriend of Danielle, somebody she's confided in who knows something, who again is fearful. Maybe she feels she should have come forward before, maybe she feels it was told in confidence. There are all sorts of reasons. What do you say to tempt that girl to come forward and talk?
Well, obviously someone knows something. If it is a friend, I know they must be really frightened of leaving it this long to come forward, but they've got to come forward to put us out of this. We can't deal with this indefinitely.
You know from the enormous reaction there's been, it's somehow a crime that really has touched the nation's heart.
That's
Everybody
right,
out there is hoping for you tonight. And let's hope that the right person or people call in. Please ring us here in the studio, 0500 600 600, or the incident room, you can call it directly. It's manned now and will be for a long time tonight, 01 245 46 4222.